Okay.
Are the people from Gateway gonna be here?
So, where am I doing this?
Just got something in the mail, you probably did too about it.
Okay, I'm gonna. I don't have a gavel, sorry.
I'll knock my head on the table.
Knock on wood, so, hey, I'm gonna welcome everyone tonight to our our very first meeting of 2026. Happy New Year. And it's the Dorado Hills Area Planning Advisory Committee. I'm the chair, John Davey, vice chair, John Raslier, and people online are not seeing this because we have no cameras working in the room and we have no Zoom audio in the room. Although I can hear, oh, it's probably echoing over there. So we have some technical difficulties tonight, and Chief Hall has been working for more than an hour trying to get something ready for us to work. So as always, hats off to the department and to Chief Hall, especially because he's been holding our hands through this new system, and we'll all write a unkind letter to their vendor to provide more assistance. So what we're doing tonight is that if we're going to do comments in the room, I have a cell phone that's on this podium, and I can hear myself. This is the weirdest thing. I have a cell phone on this podium. We'll come over to the microphone on if anybody needs to talk. There aren't a lot of things on here. We didn't have a guest speaker, but for Zoom, they can hear us because I'm got my microphone here. Bill has a microphone there, so they can probably hear John on Zoom, no matter, even if it's off. So, and so we're up here and we're making do. The truth hurts. So, but we did, so Vice Chair John Raslier, Vice Chair Tim White, Secretary Bill Jamaica, and I'm looking to see if anybody else is, I don't see Brooks not in, she might be showing up later. So we're gonna get going and we're gonna make do, and anything that I put on the screen, you'll see up here on this screen, so you'll have to squint. And we'll do our best tonight, and hopefully we get out of here early because there's not a lot to this. So, oh, you're driving. And so we call the meeting to order. There's our officers, and we can go ahead. The first order of business is the adoption of our meeting agenda. So are there any, from our officers, any requests to change anything, the order or anything?
No.
All right, moving along, the meeting is adopted. We offer an opportunity for public comment, 3 minutes for every speaker. For Zoom members tonight, because we won't be able to hear you in the room. Sorry, but we're limiting you tonight. We should call our congressman. But if you do have something to say, I have a cell phone ready to go up here. I can go turn the microphone on that, and any comments we'll do tonight, we'll ask you to come up and talk about so we can record it. So are there any comments in the room for items that are not on our agenda tonight? Let me turn that on for you, Dean. There you go.
Thanks. Good evening. I brought you a page out of the Marble Valley financing plan. Just to get in front of the would-be issues with the plan as it relates to APAC's comments had with what will perceivably be a land use approval. I brought you page 54. 54 identifies the private services that will be privately funded by the HOA. That is similar to other counties and other projects in the county like Serrano, which is a very clear parallel. The list of HOA funded additional maintenance in this Marble Valley specific plan, private street maintenance makes sense. They're going to privately own them. Private park maintenance, that makes sense. Front yard maintenance makes sense. Open space management of public property, including a vineyard, which has a footnote, private lighting and 24-hour security patrol. At the bottom of the page is the footnote, and the footnote reads, the developer proposes to enter into a landscape agreement and grant easement with the proposed HOA and the El Dorado Hills Community Services District, one, to establish public ownership through the El Dorado Hills CSD, and two, to establish a funding and maintenance obligation for the HOA of these facilities. The verbiage here is akin and parallel to the Serrano Lighting and Landscape Assessment District that was created by Parker Development Company in the middle 90s, Parker being the engineer for the CSD, which created supposedly a handoff mechanism to the HOA of all that public property. The public property didn't get deeded properly, and that's an issue that plagues the CSD, the county, and others to this day. K12 Trail being the most recent, grappling. I wanted to highlight that for you because it's proposed to be publicly funded, publicly improved, but then the last references in this footnote suggest that if the county and if the CSD decide to, waive the ownership, those publicly funded improvements can be privately owned, which is a no-no in multiple ways. To and including the regulations of the county, how you're supposed to run Melrose and the guidelines of the Melrose Act, Community Facilities District specifically, and IRS limitations on tax exempt municipal bond financing. It's an issue that I've been grappling with the Toronto HOA and Harper Development for a long time, and it will eventually come to a head one way or another. But the bottom line is publicly financed public improvements have to be publicly owned. And there's a whole bunch of that in writing in a whole bunch of places in the Serrano specific plan that have created problems, like all the pathways, public pathways and trails are supposed to be publicly owned. This is the type of thing that APAC needs to address. There is also a CFD 2019 created for all of El Dorado Hills. It's the services CFD that only charges developed property owners. It suggests that only developed property owners benefit from maintenance of streetscapes, medians, and so on, but we clearly don't. I will cut my comments there. Thank you for
Thanks, Dean. And as we review, hopefully you'll be able to contribute with us as we get
happy
more
to
documents.
clarify as needed.
Can I ask your name?
Dean Guest,
And you are affiliated with who, Gene?
the public.
Well, okay, thank you, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other comments in the room? Okay. So moving along. Oh, you're driving it. It's hard. Bill's driving. I don't have to touch anything, so I'm just going to leave this. So we like to remind everybody at every meeting how you become a voting member of APAC, where you vote on what we submit for our findings and our reviews, and in December to elect the yahoos who sit up here. So you do that by volunteering to work on a project review or a subcommittee. And I always say, we can help you learn about our process. And we're hoping that, we've defined this since 1981 and we just hand it down, but you can come in and make our process better if you want to volunteer and help us out. So thank you for everybody who does help us out. And if you're interested, our email addresses are on the agenda, and we have our info@edhapac.org email address. Because if you come up to me after this meeting and talk to me, I'm going to forget when I get to the door, because if I don't write it down, it's not real. So just, if you let us know, these guys might remember, that might be a better option. So we can move along from that. And so Supervisor Ferrero, we have an opportunity to hear from our District 1, District 2 supervisors. Supervisor Ferrero is here tonight. The microphone on that cell phone should be live. Nobody's going to see you unless I turn this camera around. Okay.
That's good.
I should say supervisors in evening wear tonight. So
Well, good evening, everybody, and Happy New Year. Now let's get into my notes. There's a scoping meeting on January 29th for the Gateway El Dorado project, which is on the south side of 50 in White Rock in District 2. And that's a combination of commercial and residential, I believe. And also, I don't know if any of you own VHR's vacation home rentals, but this last year, the year before, the county approved a VHR ordinance, and mainly to deal with problems with vacation home rentals in the Tahoe Basin. But they applied the same principles to the West Slope down there, especially on larger parcels, 10-acre parcels. And so we've received a lot of complaints from people that it's limiting their opportunities to rent their homes. And so the county, we formed a ad hoc committee with myself and George Turnbull, county employees, and to take a look at the policies, how they apply on the West Slope down to El Dorado Hills, and make changes if justified. And primarily what we're looking at is the setbacks between property lines. Like currently it says you can't have two VHRs within 500 feet of each other, and it's based on property line. But if you go up, let's say near Georgetown, you have properties that are 10 or 20 acres, and the property lines might be adjacent, the homes are quarter mile apart. That's something we want to address and possibly change. Also possibly occupancy limits. Right now it's 2 people per bedroom for 60-year-olds and over. And there's a little bit of decision making on whether the guest house is attached or detached to or a residential house, whether or not those can actually be used as VHR. So, hey guys, we're going to reevaluate that, but there's a public meeting. The date just got set today. It's February 24th, 5:30 p.m. at our board chambers up in Placerville. You can either apply or attend in person or call in on Zoom, and there also is going to be an online survey where people can fill out to express concerns. And there's going to be there's people that own VHRs that feel that they're being restricted. There's also people that live next door to VHRs that are complaining about noise and things like that. So we're going to listen to both sides. So that's February 24th. I think the last meeting I said the Costco draft EIR is going to be released on January 2nd. It's going to be released on January 21st. They've agreed to a 60-day comment period. And there is going to be a public meeting for Costco on February 25th from 6 to 8 p.m. And that's going to be at the Cameron Park CSD. I've been asked, well, why is it in Cameron Park? And they can accommodate, it's a large gym. They can, I think they're planning on doing Zoom. And so, anyways, I mean, Cameron Park is not too far to go. But that's on February 25th. And then also, if you're affiliated with Oak Meadow School, they're planning a meeting also with the PTA and the parents at that school. The proposed gas station, relatively close to that school, and there's a lot of concern with the schools. Let me back up a little. Thank you all for letting me see. I neglected to do that earlier. And then I also wanted to introduce my Cindy Munn and Planning Commissioner Dave Starr. I'll talk a little bit about the senior daycare. As you know, we consolidated them last spring. The program up in Placerville has been pretty successful. They have 32 members, a cap of 35. 10 of them are from El Dorado Hills, which is actually more than we're participating all of the El Dorado Hills. And then 5 of them, there's an opportunity for them. The county provides rides on El Dorado Transit up there from El Dorado Hills, and 5 of them you participate and take that transit up to Placerville. But the program is succeeding. You may have seen on my Facebook page the recorder clerk, Janelle Horn, recently started a program. It's through a company called Equity Protect, and it monitors your property for if someone wants to go and change the deed or change title or try to sell your property out from under you, which I guess can happen and has happened. So on the recorder clerk's webpage, on the county webpage, there's actually a link to this Equity Protect, and you just enter your address and enroll, and you get updates. I did it. It's super simple. Actually, I had a little problem. They recognized my address in Cameron Park, so I had to enter the parcel number to enter the correct address in El Dorado Hills. But it's super easy to do, and you get occasional emails that there's been no fraud detection. And it analyzes all the public records, all of the public real estate websites, the dark web, and so it's better than nothing. And I guess I remember years ago there was a problem with this. People were getting their homes.
I think we had a presentation at community
Did you
council.
really? Okay. Yeah, I remember the VA was involved. So, anyways, that's available if anybody's interested. Reach out to us if you need the webpage. We all write our check for our taxes to Karen Coleman County. She's retired, and she retired January 1st. And the deputy tax collector, deputy department head is Sean Coppola. He's been appointed interim tax collector until the next election. It's an elected position. I believe he's intending on running again. next on January 27th, we are hearing the appeal hearing for the Creekside Development Wind Project with George Carpenter. So that's going to be on January 7th at our board meeting.
I'm sorry, what's that date again?
That is going to be January 27th. Yeah. Yep. Change of leadership on the board. Brooke Lane from District 5 and Tahoe is the new chair, and I'm the vice chair. And so that started last week. And so George Trumbull is no longer chair. And then lastly, and this is a very controversial thing we just implemented at our last meeting, is the change of public comment during our board meetings. And we used to allow public comment 3 minutes per person for every agenda item, unless it was on an issue. I mean, personally, we have gotten a lot of complaints from people about we have time certain agenda items and items that are not time certain. They can be heard anytime during the day. And people would have to wait around either on Zoom or in the meeting. Sometimes they'll get there in the morning because they don't know if the items can be heard in the morning or in the afternoon. They're waiting around all day. Occasionally, because the items actually not heard in the afternoon. That was particularly with the department matters and our closed session item at the same time, the same problem. We didn't have a defined time when we would hear those. And so we're getting those complaints. And then for me, those are the kind of reasons I supported this. And then lastly, one of my ideas, when you look in the crowd, you see, sometimes 10, 12 members of staff, county staff or department heads sitting there just, waiting to be heard or waiting for their item to come. It just, for me, it's a huge waste of tax dollars, I thought. And so we had a discussion at our last December meeting and on ways to be more efficient and try to accommodate the public. And what we did, we implemented the program last week to combine public comment for consent items and closed session items. And then after that, we would have one comment period for all of the non-hearing items that people used to have to wait around for. We got a ton of complaints. They were only allowed 3 minutes for this time for these comments, as opposed to getting 2 minutes for each one. And so TRPA up in Tahoe implemented this a while back, and it's my understanding that they had a lot of complaints early on, and then it kind of worked its way out, and people like it now. And so I'm on the fence right now, whether I like it or not. I kind of, having been through now 2 meetings, I kind of like to have the opportunity to hear the public, have the presentation made, and have the public be able to see right after hearing the presentation. And they're not afforded that opportunity with this new program. So, anyways, we've implemented it. If it ends up not working out after a while, we can certainly change it back. But I know there's been a lot of complaints about it. So, anyways, that is all I have. Any questions? I'm happy to try to answer. Ellen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it-
Hospital. So I just wrote down, it's gonna be released January 21st.
Yeah.
But then there's a public meeting on February 25th.
Correct.
But then you said the comment period is only 30 days.
No, 60.
Oh, it's 60.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
60.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We had a phone call with them, and it wasn't it was a few months ago, and it was a phone call with kind of the CEO's right-hand person. It wasn't the consultants that come into the meetings, and it was kind of like the CEO's fixing it. Like, what do you guys? What would make the public happy? To help support this project. And I said, well, they're thinking you're going to release the EIR right before Christmas time. So you might want to avoid that. 60-day period would be great. The gas station's an issue, or the location, and then road infrastructure. Those are kind of the big things that I thought about with, that they could help out with if this moves forward. So they They didn't even, not that 6-day period.
Okay.
Yeah, but this
I
is,
put down 30 days.
no, sorry.
That's my-
No, I mean, legally, they have to do 45. I believe.
30.
Oh, 30 for minimum? Oh, wow, okay. No, 60. Yep. Anybody else?
I was gonna say, if you say your question, I'll repeat it so people will hear it on Zoom later. So, or if you want to walk up here, I think you could speak into one of these and we'll get you.
Supervisor Dorado, the public's, as I've heard it, characterization of the problem related to public comment being not together is if I make a public comment at 9 AM and the issue isn't addressed by you and the staff until 10:30, and I'm totally out of context at 9 AM because I didn't hear any of what the staff's gonna say or you're going to say before public comment, it really makes my public comment meaningless. Do you have any?
You know, I don't know if you saw me yesterday. I'm taking notes. You know, I'm writing down people's names they support it or they don't support it, or they don't. Which is not great. But I mean, I know personally, I'm taking notes because I'm not gonna remember if this is heard at 2 in the afternoon and they're coming to 9:30. These meetings are so, they move pretty rapidly, you know. Yeah, I have to.
And just a fine point on that again, if I'm making a 9 AM comment and it's being discussed by you and staff at 10:30, and I had heard what it was at 10:30, I might make a better public comment. It really is the public doing you a service. You know, good planning is just that, good planning.
No, I appreciate that. Yep. And I do appreciate public comment. I mean, sometimes they go on, you know, sometimes they're not the best, but for the most part, they're pretty good and I value them. So, George,
Yeah, do you have any update on the search for a permanent CAO?
we're in the process.
There was
60 applicants. They sent out all the applications to city managers and county CAOs in other jurisdictions to screen them and evaluate them. And I don't want to get this wrong. And they came back with feedback, yeah, they're qualified or they're not. And then it went to 2 different panels of internal, external department heads. I know like Chief Land was on one of the panels. And elected and non-elected department heads. And they screened all of the candidates. And they came up with their like top 3. And we haven't decided yet. So for now, it's Sue Phillips. She's got married, so Sue Phillips is interim.
Okay.
All right.
You know, talking about public comment. Okay, I listened to some public comments. And it kind of made sense to me that people would want to wait to have a presentation. And see where the county stands and what the county has. And then they would be better informed so that they could stand up and say, you know, we're for this or against it. I think to have it before they know any of the ways that the county is for or against it it's not a good system.
Yeah, no, and I tend to agree with you. But I want to see this play out a while and before, you know, we try to make any changes. I'm just speaking for myself. I don't know how to do it. But yeah, I mean, even myself, just reading Legistar and the document, you don't get the full draft sometimes that you do in theory. Yeah. So, yeah.
And then just one other thing, what about the CSD taking over the senior center? Is that still in the works or?
They approached us and they would like to explore purchasing from the county. That's the way I understand it.
Yeah. So the county actually approached us and said, obviously, with budget deficit, budget challenges, said, we would like to have an opportunity. It's a formality, an opportunity to walk into these negotiations. The board had to approve me being able to do that. And so entering into negotiations means that it allows us to have conversations about the future of that center, and we program it. obviously moving nutrition services and adult daycare centers up the hill.
Well, nutrition still,
I'm sorry.
still here. Daycare is up the hill, the nutrition still, yeah, it's still here.
Okay. And so I'm expecting, Laura's been great about reaching out to me. I'm hoping in February, it would be nice if it's later this month, but it may be in February. She will reach out to me and we will begin conversations around the future of the senior center. We have extended our contract with the county to continue to provide recreation events, et cetera, at the senior center. But I don't have any updates because we haven't started those conversations.
You know, I did like your comments in the Mountain Democrat saying that if the county did take it over, it would have to be a senior center.
Yeah, CSD took it over.
Yeah, it would, yeah.
Yeah, no, it can't not be a senior center.
Knowing this.
So I mean, let's say we sold it, there would have to be something in the title, you know,
A
deed
deed restriction.
restriction that says it has to maintain.
Monty Gilmore's vision is going to be maintained. We have so many seniors that experience community and events there. That will always be for our seniors. What we have to get to is, because what is the building worth? There's a lot of liabilities on the building, so all of those conversations are gonna happen, but that is to serve seniors. That will be, again, be restricted, and we will be honoring that as a senior center, nothing else.
So the question I have to ask is, why are you asking, or why is the county looking at taking it over? What's the reason behind it? Are you not making ends meet? So stay the way you are.
Well, no, the CSD is exploring purchasing the building from the county.
We own the building.
County owns it.
Most of the programs are CSD programs, except for one, senior nutrition. That's the only, and it's small. That's the only program we have in a county caring program. The rest of it, all the fun stuff.
Right.
CSD.
Right.
So you don't own the building. The building
We
used
own
to
the
belong to the fire department.
We bought the building, the county bought the building from the fire department.
Yep.
I don't remember, I don't know the year, but we bought the building from the fire department to be a senior center. And now and it's interesting, I thought you approached us, it's good to know.
We don't, I mean, it's no problem, but as we are in a leasing agreement with that, and we help pay for HVAC and other services, Wi-Fi, et cetera. But as the county was going through their challenges associated with the budget, this was one of the items that came forward and said, hey, CSD, you're programming it. So we would like to enter into negotiations. I said, sounds great. Took a letter to the board, asked for their permission to do so, or unanimously supported it. And so as soon as they reach out to me, we will begin those negotiations for the county. The opposite, the county's not asking to take over. We have been the ones programming it, as you said, with the adult day center.
Yeah.
You know, I think Greg knows, I think many people feel that the closing of the senior respite center was a very, very bad thing for this community. Okay, I'm not.
No, I wasn't that.
I'm sorry that I'm looking at you, but I'm talking to you.
It was a senior daycare.
I'm saying,
But-
we didn't do that though.
No.
county did.
The county, we did.
The county did it.
We
The county
did.
did it. The county did it with Gilmore money, that was used to bring it up to code. And to say that they're running a program at Placerville does not help the people down here. And
Well,
that's,
there's a lot of people going up. Did you hear what I said?
yeah, well, they have nowhere else to
Yeah.
go. Put 'em
Well,
on
there's
a bus.
actually I mean, that's not true because there's a private one that just opened literally across the street.
I know.
It's about the same
And
price.
I was there,
Probably
and I took
nice.
a tour of the building several times, and there's things that, for example, they want a certain amount of money up front, $1,200 a month up front before they'll take
Private
you.
one.
Yeah, if I go up to the county, I think it's $80 a day to go up there.
Something like that. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it is 82 bucks. The other way, it's like $12.50 that they have to put out ahead of time before they'll take you. Okay, that's a lot of money, you know.
So moving forward, regardless of who owns it, it will remain a senior center.
Bring the respite center back down again.
What's the rest of it?
The senior day.
Oh, the senior daycare?
Say-
No, you know what? So I'll be full disclosure. You know, last year being my first year going through the first budget process, I tell you what, it was a deer in the headlights, and there's some decisions that I regret making, and that might be one of them. So, and then like, it's not, it wasn't my decision, I mean, we voted on it, but, yeah.
It just should be kept in mind.
This year should be a little more smooth for me.
Okay, you know, I'm willing to try one thing. So, Joel Wiley has his hand up. I'm going to ask him to unmute in a second. But a word of warning to Joel: the audio in the room is not working. We might not hear you. So, I might turn to here on my machine and turn my. There might be some feedback. Sorry, guys. But Joel, I'm going to ask you to unmute, and if we can't hear you in the room, I'll try to repeat your question.
Good evening. This is Joel Wiley in El Dorado Hills. Are you getting this?
Joel, I'm going to delay.
Barely. Yeah.
Okay, well, on this end, I'm getting a double signal. I could barely understand what the supervisor was saying because it was echoing. And John Davey, you have two windows open and they both look like they are speaking. So I wonder if you can mute one of them and see if that takes care of it. John Davey,
Did you hear that, John?
Windows open and they both look like they are speaking.
It's just a technical problem. You can't hear.
See if that takes care of it.
Okay, we'll give it a try here at our end, Joel. But thank you for pointing it out for us.
The computer's not your friend.
Echo a couple of other people, John's team back there. You know, strive for efficiency and public meetings is a great goal to have. But at the same time, efficiency can't be the only thing that you judge public meetings by. Part of it's transparency. Yeah, it's inconvenient for you. Yes, it is inconvenient for staff. But at the same time, when you have, you know, Dean mentioned, I think, public comments at 9 and you hear it at 10:30. But what about public comments at 9 and you don't get it until 1:30 or 2?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, it just goes out. And if you're going to have something that is important, you know, it is because it's on your agenda, and the public will probably show up. Or they will zoom in. And yes, it's like I said, it's not the most efficient way to do it. But at the same time, you want to ensure that the public has every opportunity to make their comments, make it at a meaningful time so you and your 4 other supervisors and also staff who are involved hear them and can consider them before you make a decision.
No, I realize that. I'll just go back. You know, part of my reason for supporting this was efficiency for the public that were complaining that they had to wait around all day. And I just want to point out that for any type of hearing, that the normal procedures take place. So people will have opportunity for public comment during the hearing. So duly noted. Give it a chance for a bit and maybe make some changes. See. Yeah.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming to this meeting. You know, I feel
Every month.
Get it straight from you. I appreciate that. And I'll put through it. A couple of things that I think I heard in past meetings of APAC that maybe you could update. I believe I got from you about we're going to change some signage on Sarasota, not allow a left turn out of, I think it's 70 by the surgery center there. Okay.
And now
That's not ringing a bell, Adam. Does that ring a bell to you?
I know there's been some discussion about the access to those facilities, but I don't think that there's been a decision like that.
Yeah, I haven't heard that.
Okay. All right.
I don't remember.
Okay. Okay. And then the other one that you mentioned that there's a judgment against the county. You had any update on that?
It's one.
Think about not collecting funds and not spending them.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Boy, I moved past that. The Austin case, it was the county, Adam, correct me if years back, the county collected tip fees for development. They didn't spend the money. They said spend the money, but there's a lawsuit, class action lawsuit, and we lost to the tune of $14 million. So, I believe their attorneys been paid, plaintiff's attorneys were paid, and we are exploring ways how to pay people back. Problem is, the California law says that the receiver of these funds, as a result of the lawsuit, has to be the person that held title to the home in August of 2025. So if you lived in a home 10 years ago, you paid tip fees, and you've since moved, the new owner, or whoever owned the house last August, is going to get the refund.
Yeah.
And that's California law, right or wrong.
So
Right now, you're like tracking that.
Well, no, I'm trying to figure out a mechanism to track these people down and pay them back and how much. But yes, 14 million bucks out of a road.
so yeah.
But and it's, looking back on it, the only mistake the county made back then, from my understanding, is they spent the money, they didn't spend it timely enough. There's a time frame when that money has to be spent. So the benefit has been paid to the community. And now certain property owners are going to get another benefit.
Well, also part of that too was that the Nexus studies weren't done. They're supposed to be updated every 5 years, which is unfortunately why the CSD and the fire department also got hit as part of that.
Yeah.
So the Nexus studies weren't completed. They're being completed now, believe me.
Yeah.
But that was also, I think that's the primary point of the case. It wasn't, the how it was spent was another part. But the Nexus studies not being done, California mitigation fee law is that they have to be done. They weren't done.
The Nexus studies were done by the CSD and the fire department. The county basically screwed it up by not approving them in the appropriate time.
Approving the fire department and CSD.
Yes, yeah. I mean, we had to sign I believe both departments had to sign a hold harmless agreement with the county, where the county basically said, unless you sign this hold harmless agreement and agree not to sue us for our mistake, we will no longer collect the fees. We were pretty much between a rock and a hard place. And I'm an attorney. I read that damn.
You were on the board then?
I was on the board then. We were between a rock and a hard place. We asked our counsel, and he basically said, yeah, that's where you are. And faced with that, our board made a decision that we had to sign that hold harmless agreement. And I don't know what happened at the CSD, but I'm pretty sure it's probably similar. Yeah. So, I mean, all right. Now, the Austin, it's done. Yeah, it's done. Now it's just for the, I believe the county has until September or October, because they have a lot of studies, because there's different fees that were collected at different times for different purposes and different amounts, depending on whether is it CSD, because the CSD and the fire department districts are different. So, people live in one house here and the other across the street in another house, you might be in different districts. So your amounts may be different.
Yeah, just because
it's very complicated.
Yeah.
So,
and that's what they're doing now. They're trying to process that and figure out how and how much.
Well, and I think based on judgment, it's only covering houses that were built during a certain period of time.
There's a restricted number of people that are entitled to this.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
So
anybody else?
We covered it.
All right.
Thank you. We appreciate
that. Have a good
night.
Thanks.
Thank you. You want to jump us ahead? Okay, we have no guest speakers tonight. APAC Project That Matter. We'll go to the first item. Go ahead. This is what we've been moving this. We used to at the end of the meetings. We're doing it at the beginning now because if people leave, then at least hear what's going on. So if you want to go to the next screen, it's just a list. These are the projects that we're currently waiting for some development's the wrong word, but some process on. So Village of Marble Valley specific plan, we're still anticipating that the final environmental impact report will be released eventually. We don't have a timeline on that. The same with Lime Rock Village specific plan. The Town and Country Village El Dorado that was sent back from the Board of Supervisors back to the Planning Commission for additional review and analysis, and that'll be coming. We'll hear about that, I'm sure, when it's officially scheduled. Creekside Village specific plan. So we have the final environmental impact report. The Planning Commission in November recommended denial. It's I believe January 27th. we just talked about that. So the Creekside applicants will be at the Board of Supervisors. The Planning Commission action was not a denial, it was a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors for denial. So that'll happen, and we'll see what the board looks at for that project in a couple weeks. Costco, we just heard from Supervisor Ferrero that the draft EIR will be released on the 21st of January, and we have 60 days to start reviewing. So there'll be a lot of documents, and we'll be asking everybody if you have some concerns that you want to look at the whole thing and share your opinions and concerns with us so we can incorporate it into our findings if you want to touch the tiniest part of it. But the thing about the draft EIR is that it's related to the environmental aspects under CEQA. It's not, I don't like this project, or I think you should move it someplace else. It's like, this is the project, what's your feedback on the environmental impacts? So be ready for that. Yeah, you could say that. You can include this in your comments, and they'll say, thank you for your comments. They'll be forwarded to the decision makers, but it's not part of the draft EIR review. Yeah. So Generations at Green Valley, their draft EIR was published, I want to say almost a year ago. We have not had any feedback, and I haven't heard from the applicant in a while. The Gateway El Dorado specific plan, we'll be talking about that at the end of the meeting tonight. There's a public scoping meeting scheduled for Thursday, January 26th, and that will be at the CSD Pavilion on Harvard Way. So if you want to attend that meeting, the scoping meeting, again, it's to define the scope of the environmental review, what should be focused on, where more attention with some initial concerns on it. Any comments you provide either at the meeting verbally or in writing within the term, those comments get incorporated into the draft EIR. So, and we've moved ahead.
Yeah, sorry.
No, that's fine. That's good. Go ahead.
Yeah. Gateway El Dorado, the date's wrong.
Oh, is it?
You said the 26th, but it's the 29th.
Just dyslexic again. Okay, thank you for pointing that out. Let's see if I have it right on the slide later on. Probably not. Because I probably referenced the slide to write that. So we're moving on to the Heritage Village 11 project, and it's part of the Heritage project there. Lennar has a request to modify conditions of approval. And when we put this on our agenda, there was a public notice that this would be a hearing at yesterday's Board of Supervisors meeting. We put this on our agenda, released our agenda, and subsequently it was removed from the meeting. So we are anticipating strictly on saying this was what was discussed, and here's the determination and how it was approved, denied, modified, whatever. So we don't have that information tonight, but if you'll jump ahead, we can at least show on the screen. You can see from that. So the applicant was seeking to delay construction of Royal Lakes Drive extension across the signalization, essentially, of the extension. And the original trigger on the conditions of approval was a 333rd building permit, and that would trigger the necessity to commit to building that signalized intersection. So and so we just have it's just a drawing that was included in the project application, and then a Google map view of it there. So it's kind of hard to see, but this is something, we saw last year that they started preparing for that extension of the road into their project. And initially I believe it's supposed to be an EVA for emergency access, and eventually it's going to be open for full traffic. So and that's what that 333rd building permit was the condition of approval, was to trigger the signalized intersection and open that thing up. So if you want to jump ahead of screen, if you can read from way back there, I'll read it out loud, which my friends in broadcasting say they do for a living. I read out loud. So offsite emergency vehicle access to Latrobe Road at Royal Lakes Drive intersection. Construct a secondary EVA access to Latrobe Road prior to the issuance of a building permit for the 30th dwelling unit in the project site. And there's some routes, first alternate, second alternate, but the traffic impact analysis considered that this should be completed prior to the issuance of the 330th building permit for the project. And the second alignment, I believe, was Wetzeloviet, and I don't believe that's the plan now. So it talks about sort of the conditions of how the road should be, how wide it should be. The fire department obviously has input on that. And then, so essentially that it just, the condition of approval 56 requires the extension of Royal Oaks Drive to Heritage Village 11 be constructed prior to that 333rd building permit. And it describes the conditions from the traffic impact analysis that made that finding. And then the Creekside, also during that, at the time, they had considered that the proposed Creekside Village project, which will be at the board, was being added to Latrobe Road, a Royal Oaks intersection. So it traverses the property. If you want to jump ahead, I don't want to read too much tonight because which I'll sleep. Condition 53C was to construct the traffic signal at Latrobe Royal Oaks Drive when the access road to the project is open to vehicular traffic. The vehicular access, meaning it's a road that we can all drive on. It's not strictly for EVA. And again, it talks about the conditions of why it was included based on the traffic impact analysis. If you want to jump ahead one more, this is too much to read, but basically, the memorandum that was submitted, they anticipate the traffic operations would be below any sort of traffic warrants that would require that was considered in the analysis that would require these things to be built and facilitated. They're talking about less than, I believe, a dozen peak hour trips in both morning and PM hours. And so the consideration would be to have a two-way stop control. I believe, if I read it correctly, that the stop controls would be on Royal Oaks, not on Latrobe. So traffic on Royal Oaks would be waiting at a stop sign, essentially. So, and then the other analysis thing that they talked about was the traffic impact analysis had considered that Creekside would be built out prior to construction of the 333rd permit for their project. And that's obviously not happening. So, jump ahead. So the applicant is requesting modification of those conditions of approval. 333 prior to the 333rd building permit to provide the bid ready package for construction of the full access connection to Latrobe and Royal Oaks Drive intersection and the traffic signal, and to post a security form of acceptable to the county to consider construction of the full access connection and the signal. And then basically when the improvement plan was improvement plan approved, hard to say. All the environmental permits, the complete construction, the full access connection within 24 months, so 2 years, and that's different than the 333rd building permit. And because it's going to operate, it's anticipated to operate at level service E, which is not the trigger in the community regions. Level service F is the trigger. Not to meet a signal warrant. Essentially, they want to defer it, and in the meantime, the county would be continuing to collect traffic impact fees that they estimate to be about $1.7 million. And then the signalization will occur within 24 months of the environmental approval. And that would be, again, they would have a bid package ready prior to the 333rd building permit. Instead of the construction, they'd have the package ready and available. So, and then they're going to work with the county to develop revised conditions of approval in coordination with staff and departments. So if you want to jump ahead. So I believe that this is the one that, so we want to also remind people that the Board of Supervisors just approved in December adding a concept to the general plan for a connector road between Latrobe and essentially the Sacramento County line that would traverse south of the business park projects. So we just want to remind everybody, you know, this is what they're talking about. So this isn't the road that's in discussion for Illinois' request to modify the conditions of approval, but this road is conceptual right now, and it's on the 20-year horizon. So that's basically it. Is there anything after that? Okay, you can go back. Okay, we can go back if you want to. One of them. I don't care. So up here, I'll go first. Did you have anything you wanted to contribute? Because we were going to submit a letter, and we were working on developing a letter about concerns. But since that hearing was removed from the agenda, now we'll work on the letter and send it in before February 3rd. So do you have anything?
Well, yeah, it seems to me the developer doesn't want to build the road. He wants to have plans approved and all that, and then put the onus to building the road on the county. And I will be dead before that road ever gets built. And many of us in the room will be. It's again, this was approved years ago with, I don't know, at least 55 conditions, probably more. And here we are, they built a bunch of homes there. And now they're saying some traffic studies, they now believe, now that they built a bunch of homes, they're saying, okay, well, those traffic studies and the conditions of approval that allowed us to build these homes no longer should apply. So we should get an exception so that we don't have to build a road. Now, I just don't like the way this works. It doesn't pass the sniff test, in my opinion. And I'm just not going to say anything more because I'm sure others have things to say.
I'll turn this way.
I agree with him.
Oh, shit.
We need a swear jar now. Is that what they're
Yeah,
coming
we
to?
should adjourn.
No,
We're ahead right now.
So I also agree, but what this does is creates a serious safety issue for the heritage community there. There's only one exit out of as it is currently, and without that road, there's not the second exit. And having a stop sign on Latrobe Road, people come down that hill fast. And I don't believe it would be a dozen people, but whatever the number is, that is going to be a very dangerous intersection. So I don't like the idea of letting them off the hook. I think it's disingenuous of them. It's not serving their residents in the community. Sketchy as hell.
Okay, so then I guess we'll turn to the public, and obviously we're not going to take online comments because we can't hear you. But so anyway, and we're running up, and you should be able. There's the microphone on the cell phone there. So thank you for running up and talking to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Good evening. I'm Sean McDermott. I'm a consultant representing Lennar Homes as it relates to this item. First of all, I wanted to hopefully clarify a couple of items. First is that Lennar is not trying to get out of construction of the roadway. Lennar is simply requesting more time to allow for the roadway to be constructed. Lennar has engaged and contracted with a contractor to construct the road, has an approved grading plan. Expectation is hopefully within the next 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have approved improvement plans. The request for extension of time is really related to two things. One is the CDFW permit, which is the state environmental permit, took significantly longer than expected. And the second is actually absorption and construction of the homes occurred quicker than expected. Lennar fully intends to diligently pursue completion of the roadway. Current schedules show that construction of the grading profile of the roadway will commence within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And Lennar is hopeful that the roadway will be completed in early summer. That would be the roadway without the signal. The signal is expected to take a little bit more time, particularly because of lead time for mast arms required to construct and install the signal. And that's the reason for the request for additional time. Lennar is not asking the county to construct the roadway. Lennar is proposing to post security to ensure for the completion of the roadway. And this is just simply a request for more time to allow for the roadway to be constructed by Lennar.
What do you expect the signal to go in based on the lead time issue?
Yeah, so the estimates for the signal are that it could take up to a year, and that is the reason for that is the fabrication of the signal mast arms.
So, and I wanted to thank you. I mean, we had a discussion today. We put this on the agenda because public notice was out, and we didn't have a meeting before they were supposed to have their public hearing. So we were anticipating, like I said earlier, that we would just be announcing what happened to the Board of Supervisors. And so had that not occurred in that sequence, we probably would have asked if you wanted to come down and talk about it. Thank you for coming down and talking about it. We'll still be submitting some formal comment letter, but obviously the opportunity for anybody who's working on a project here, we always appreciate the dialogue, and we always extend an invitation if you have something that you want to share or update us with. We always I'll leave the door open for anything you need to communicate if you think it benefits your project and it benefits public knowing about how it's progressing.
And it was
So-
great to get the clarification on the time because that wasn't clear.
Yeah, a little clumsy when we were reading just the documents and it was just a notice that it was going to happen. So
Understood. And Lennar has talked to some concerned residents who had raised their hands who were interested in talking as well to get that same clarification. And I would extend that invite to anybody who has an interest in getting more information about the requested extension.
awesome. So are there any more questions in the room?
I just had this road and the other one that you showed are not the same road.
No, they're not the same road. That's why we put it up, because some people ask me, well, they just put it into the general plan. No, it's a different road.
So Sean, can you just point on where the road is?
But nobody's going to see it.
Well-
So I'll move my mouse.
So this is the southern end of Carson Creek Village 11, and the roadway extends from the southern end along an alignment approximately in this location up to the intersection with Royal Oaks and Latrobe Road.
I guess my question is, will that be extended to the county line or are you talking about?
This road, the red one. No, it's going to Heritage to 11 to provide that emergency access initially, but then as a road available to the public. I got that right, I think. Question mark. Okay. Are there any other questions in the room? Okay. Thank you again. And again, if we thought that we would be before the Board of Supervisors got a crack at it, we would have invited you or offered you an invitation. So, and like I said, it's always open if you have something that you need to communicate. So
Thank you very much.
thanks a lot. Okay. So the next item tonight, and we only have this on here because it's in Trackit on the county website, and I started hearing from a lot of people. So it's Toronto Village D1 Lot D, which is technically right behind us. So if you want to jump ahead, it's 35 single family lots, originally approved in the 1988-89 El Dorado Hills Pacific Plan. So it's a tentative map application, 35 single family detached lots. It's the existing zoning from the 88 specific plan, R1 plan development and open space. The proposed zoning for it is R1 plan development and open space. So consistent with what was approved then. 55 acres total, plus 55 plus. 18 acres and 18 and a half for residential lots, 4 acres for residential streets, 28 acres of open space, a little more than a third of an acre for landscape lots, a quarter acre utility lots, 1.5 acres for access roads, and 1.92 acres stockpile lots. So if you jump ahead. And so the application right now at the county is incomplete. So, but so many people are asking questions about it. We wanted to make sure people knew, right? This is not something that we're ignoring, but it's an incomplete application. They're waiting for more details to be submitted to the county. This is a map. We have it on our, I think we have it on, we do have it on our website. You have to look under development and residential, and the details from the packet will be in there. And as more information becomes available, we'll add it in. But you know, obviously this was a lot that's right above the golf course property. There's a buffer between this and the golf course property, the North Golf Course property, and it's just below Toronto Parkway and above El Dorado Hills Boulevard. So as more information becomes available, we'll you know, obviously we watch as projects go forward, and if there's an opportunity for us to provide thoughtful comments or ask questions, we'll do that. But we also invite the public to, you know, share their ideas, their thoughts, and their concerns. And since it's an incomplete application, I don't think we have much to share on it, unless I'll go out to you guys. I was going to say, did you have anything? Okay, so go.
So the request to change the zoning, why is the existing and the proposed zoning the same?
You know, when I was reading it, I'm not sure that I saw that.
Yeah.
So, and
it's easier to see the existing zoning R1 PD and open space, proposed zoning R1 PD residential and open space. So yeah, but that's what I missed when I was trying to look through the docs. I don't know what they're trying to change it to.
and
Are you trying to change the docs?
actually reducing lots that are allowed in the current zone, not 65.
Okay.
I don't think we're, I mean, if there's a zoning change, it's probably just on the very margins of, making sure.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
reduction of from 65 to 30.
Okay.
And it connects Boulevard down to the road. That the connection is. John's only really one full clock thing.
You're always welcome to talk. I just said, I don't know if you need to, so. So right behind us here. And it'll go back up here. It'll end in like a court.
Right. Someone changed it. It didn't look like it, so I didn't know if that was on.
Yeah, and because people had asked about this, that's why we put it on here. And I did reach out and ask Kurt, all we're gonna do is say there's an application that's not done, and here's the details that are in it right now. So always, Kirk has an opportunity to come and talk to us. So as that process is, we'll keep going. You want to use that one up there?
This is Dean Getz. This is one that's near and dear to my heart. This is parcel 6 of the original El Dorado Hill specific plan. Parcel 6 is never been touched. It's raw land. So middle 90s, 1995, parcel 6 was zoned for 32 units. It's part of the original Serrano LA number 17. Only has one engineer's report from the 95, 96 timeframe. They list parcel 6 by APN number, and nothing's ever been done to that to this day. What's fascinating about that is that parcel 6 was supposed to pay its fair share, proportionate share, by state law, Streets and Highways Code 225738, for its benefit from the Serrano streetscape and any other public property for which is being maintained in the El Dorado Hill specific plan. One of the contentious items between Parker Development and the Toronto Owners Association and I is to say revenue and expenses in 2005 according to them, and they let themselves out of paying. They haven't paid anything since then. In 2009, the 65 lots became Class A voting members. They were Class B voting members beforehand and had superior voting rights. They became equivalent to homeowners in 2009 because all developer rights in that regard expired with the 12th anniversary of a sale to a homeowner. They've been voting to this day 65 lots, not paying anything. Again, contention for me. The tracking here, the requirement, I've got all these documents, I will provide them to APAC and to the county planning as we go. The county did write as condition of approval, there'd be an LOAD. And the LOAD, similar to what I described to you on page 54 earlier in my comments, that the HOA could be assigned the responsibilities to take care of the LOAD's responsibilities through and off of sorts. But that isn't to allow the developer to get out of paying their proportionate share, their share of costs, which is what's been done since 2005 to this day. I'll leave you with this. Pick a minority. If all black people owned all the homes in Toronto, only black people would pay in Toronto for the cost of maintaining the public property that is Toronto and Silver Valley Park. It is why we have failed to put the public property in proper hands. It's why we've had such consternation with the K12 trail, the checks and balances.
Any other comments tonight? Awesome. Okay, well then we will move forward. Look at us go. So I talked to Tom Purcell at Long Range Planning, and he was here at our November meeting, and the county is undergoing stakeholder advisory teams for design standards for different communities across the county. And so Tom came and presented to us, and it was a good conversation. And if you want to jump ahead, there's a bunch in here. This is essentially what his slides were in November, but he wanted me to remind because they still have room for more people to participate. So we'll just go ahead and jump. I'm going to point at you the whole time. So basically where we're at right now is, they're opening this up because they want community members to volunteer to start reviewing what some of the existing designs and architectural standards or not standards, but architectural aspects exist in El Dorado Hills and start helping to define for multifamily and for commercial, what our design standards should be. Shingle Springs was in front, I believe. I know that were they just, I'm looking. Is that when it was? Yeah, when Shingle Springs for the design standards, was that the Planning Commission then? Okay. So, and then also, other communities, El Dorado, Diamond Springs, Cameron Park. So we're all getting a chance to do this. Now, El Dorado is a little different because of our size. And so the goal is to get members of the community to volunteer to help sort of define and craft this and move this forward. So the planning commission can consider it, and with the board of supervisors looks at this. We've had a couple looks at this. I want to say in 2000, it's before COVID. It was 1920, right before COVID, and we had some members of APAC that volunteered to do this, but that with COVID, it sort of fell apart. There was, I believe, a second contract later after we were all set free to go outside. And that really didn't get going any momentum. The county did allocate additional budget to do this and sort of restart this process. It's an opportunity for the community to help define some of these standards. Now, they're very narrow, right? We're talking about multifamily and commercial. So, and there are things that exist right now with how we do things with Serrano properties. There are commercial properties. So there's, Town Center has their own design review for East and West. But this is an opportunity for community members to get in and participate and help do this. I'm going to jump ahead.
Can I add something?
Yeah.
I think we were told at another meeting that none of this will apply to the business park because the business park is R&D and they have no housing there until Gateway puts housing there, and then who's going to determine if they meet whatever requirements there are.
Yeah, and that's accurate, right? The business park has their own review, they have their own review process for what happens inside the business park. Now, the county has to adhere to what the county has said is applicable for all those different possibilities underneath the zoning ordinance for R&D. So they have to meet those standards, and the business park association does what they do.
But they never had housing before, so I'm sure they have no design in mind for apartment building.
So you're doing that part of our findings. But no, yeah, so there's an opportunity, right? When that project comes forward, what we do, but we can participate. Yeah. Hey, go ahead, Bob.
From a planning commission perspective, understand just because long-run planning has said X, Y, and Z will be part of the scoping, doesn't necessarily mean that's the way it'll be. And so as an area advisory committee, I would suggest that you circle the wagon and determine what you believe is going to be the best set of design standards for El Dorado Hills area, and not make any kinds of assumptions otherwise.
Yeah, and so when this first came before the community, like in 2019, we had APAC members volunteer to do it, but we also didn't want to make APAC the thing that drove all of it, because we wanted the community to be involved. But APAC members are the community, so whoever wants to be involved can participate. But we will look at, obviously when these come forward. I talked to the Cameron Park Design Review Committee several times because they have the same concerns. How do we do this? They determined because there's not a lot of participation there, that they would just go ahead and participate. Now, it can't be all of them because they're subject to the Brown Act. In that function, they can do it, but they can't be offline. And so I told Tom I would bring this back up. If you want to jump forward. So this is just a map of obviously El Dorado Hills and where these standards would be applied. Go ahead and go forward. And just some examples. Obviously, there's Sienna over there in Montana de El Dorado. And then you'd be looking at the other thing about this is that if you have a standard, you can streamline the process, but we still want to make sure we have our opportunity to weigh in and provide comments and concerns. So this is just an example. They said, hey, some architectural styles. I know that on the corner here, when Walgreens went in is considered a Santa Barbara style, and people lost their mind here. It's like Santa Barbara style is not El Dorado Hills. Like, well, there are a lot of styles here. So, so yeah, but that was a consideration at the time, and people were really upset about it. And even I blank on the name of it, and we looked at it for so long. The church right here, not District Church.
Oh, the other one.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
here.
the corner.
Yeah, goodness grace. So obviously they wanted, and I want to say that was 2018. They were looking to build that church, add out to it, but their style was warehouse modern. A lot of people waiting on that too, and and they're a church, so they didn't have a lot of funding, but they went ahead and said, well, we're going to change it, and we'll try to match what the community is asking for. So that was their compromise. So we have people willing to work with that. So so I'm putting this out here to remind people. You can go ahead and jump ahead. This is more some of the just more styles, and they looked around Placerville. So where they're at right now, they anticipate the first stakeholder advisory community tour where you can go out for part of a day and go around El Dorado Hills with county staff and with consultants would be in March and April. There's a community workshop that they anticipate in May of 26, a second workshop in June, a public review draft and environmental review would be in the July, August. You'll be done probably the end of this year, essentially. The Planning Commission would probably hear it they anticipate September. We all know that it'll probably actually be November. So happy Thanksgiving to Bob, the other planning commissioners, and Dave. I don't know if Dave's still here.
Yeah, he's in.
You're hiding back there, Dave. So, and then they anticipate it would be at the Board of Supervisors in October. So if we jump ahead, here's the links. So they have, and we'll put this on the website again. It won't be tonight. Sorry, it'll be tomorrow. They have a website for El Dorado Hills specifically, and then they have a way to subscribe to the email list, even if you don't want to participate. But we do have an email. If you jump ahead, this is the form. We have a link on our web. It's a redirect on our website that goes to the form. If you want to sign up and participate, they're looking for anybody who's willing to do it. Again, they're going to limit it, and I can't remember if there was an exact number, but if they get enough interest, they might build it out because the participation it adds a little value, more people. So I made a promise, no more things, but I probably will sign this. So so that's it. But I did want to offer the opportunity for the community to remember this is something we talked about in November. It's a holiday, everybody's busy. So here it is again. And I wanted to make sure Tom had an opportunity to let everybody know in the community there's a chance for you to work on something. I'm looking at Mr. Resler as I say that. So are there any questions about this that I can't answer? But sure, please.
We're talking about design standards and current fees and forward. That is being used as the mechanism for housing development of baseline 80-35.
Yes.
Low income housing.
Yes.
And so understand that the ministerial positioning that these standards are now being tied to, that basically cuts even the supervisors out.
Yeah.
Of the appeal process.
And that was
It's all part of this factor. So if you're okay with that, then it's okay. Otherwise,
yeah.
raise your hand.
So I believe the concept of having some objective standards, because it can't be, if they're objective standards, then we have a little bit of touch to anything that could be weighed in underneath those specific state rules in terms of even right now, we had talked, I think, about a year and a half ago about Montana Phase 2, which they had approved for all commercial and some offices, residential, grocery, hotel. Now he had a concept that goes, well, I might, it's commercial. We might be able to switch this and build 300 plus apartments there because that's what they're entitled to do with that commercial zoning. And that's the state. So the idea of having objective standards is that there's a little bit of touch, but not a lot. A little protection for the community to try to influence, building height and things like that. How that works out, I don't know. But if you want to help out and work on this, I know that they're interested in hearing from the community. So I think that would be it on this. So I believe it's the last thing tonight. Oh, this is way longer than I thought. Gateway El Dorado specific plan. Now we've talked to the applicant before. They have a notice of preparation that was released for their draft EIR. They have a public scoping meeting scheduled here, 29th. Am I right here? I got the year right this time. And we're in the year, so that's pretty good. So it's at 6 p.m. in this room, and it's scope.
Now, CST.
Get it backwards again. And I said that earlier, it was up at CSC. So,
Collective, between us, we'll all get it.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Takes a village.
yes, it does. Many hands make light work. So that scoping meeting is going to be at the Pavilion on Harvard Way. If you want to jump ahead, we can talk a little bit about it. So the notice of preparation went out. I think we put the documents on the project page for Gateway El Dorado, the specific plan on the APAC website. We also had a news post about this, and we shared that on social media. This is the usual thing. Who's the lead agency? It's the county. It's the project title, where it's located. We jump ahead. The scoping meetings in person. There it is, El Dorado Hills Community Services District. It's at 6 p.m. on Thursday, January 29th. The comment period, February 10th is when it ends. You have to have your comments in by 5 p.m. on February 10th. There's an email address on here. The county has created a Gateway El Dorado specific plan at edc.gov.us. You could do written, and I think I mentioned during our initial sort of discussion that we're going to be talking about this, was that anything you offer at the scoping meeting gets incorporated into the draft EIR as well. And again, it's supposed to be environmental concerns, the scoping meeting is to define sort of the width or the narrowest parts of the environmental review that will be taking place for the project. If you want to jump ahead, I think I have some. So the description of the project is basically Golden Foothills at Latrobe, Golden Foothills South at Latrobe. And right now, those two new warehouse buildings are in place there. It would be behind the Tractor Supply, north of it. So if we jump ahead, is zone R&D. So they're proposing a specific plan that would add some different, I want to say zoning ordinances essentially, but basically it's a plan area, so they can define what they can define it how they want to. The thing that struck me was that I don't remember us seeing 4 stories, but 4 stories is what's talking about, ranging from 1 to 4 stories for the R&D buildings. We do have in the R&D zone, we do have a height limit, and then the floor space, be consistent with the zoning there too. Residential development, multifamily, densities generally between 15 and 24 dwelling units per acre. 24 is the maximum in El Dorado County, unless you're at Town Center Apartments, which is 47, I think. Okay. After a lawsuit, yes. And we had a review on that in 2017. Yeah. So they proposed that the buildings could be constructed as townhomes, apartments, condominiums. Typically, they're talking about 2 to 4 story buildings. Again, I was surprised with the 4 story. Shared amenities, common areas like most multifamily. And then they would have a subset of select parcels that would be multifamily residential commercial flex, which is a new sort of concept in there. And that would be incorporated as part of the area plan for this specific plan. They're talking about 140 to 493 new dwelling units and development of between 500,000 and 700,000 square feet of non-residential, including the existing structures. And what is the size on those, 70 and 60? I can't remember the warehouses, the new ones. 50?
150 and 200.
Oh, is it that high? I used to lease buildings for like that, warehouses, so I don't remember that. That's big. So if we want to jump ahead, so what they're requesting specifically are entitlements for a certification of this new specific plan, the EAR, and the adoption of a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which is typical for all these projects. Approval of the general plan amendment and rezone, those new uses that we've talked about, and then adoption of their specific plan, and then potential for development agreement, where the county gets to extract some more. Basically, and we would. That's tough. The planning commission gets to see that, and they don't really get to weigh. I mean, they do. They'll mention it in the planning agreement. The development agreement. The development agreement is typically handled by the board of supervisors, but there'll be some extraction there for something. And then they also have to apply for LAFCO because they want to be added to the El Dorado Hills Community Services District. So that's important because there'll be, those, if it's approved and there's residents there, they'll be our neighbors and they'll be using community services districts, facilities, programs, our franchise waste hauler, our cable TV, all those good things. If they're gonna be here in the community, they should be, part of that boundary to make sure that, we're not shortchanging the district or ourselves. So if you want to move ahead, here's the small look of the map, and it's like right there it's like right above Tractor Supply to the north. If you go one more, that is the layout of what they're proposing. So they do have some open space along the wetlands to the west and around to the north. They're talking about they're working right now, the connection of Carson Crossing, extending it where it would connect to Latrobe, and they had talked about another roadway, but I guess we'll look when we see the documents for the draft EIR and see what else is proposed. And then they have their own sort of, they've color coded their own coding in terms of, what they anticipate calling their zones inside their plan area. So they have come and talked to us a couple of times. Obviously, like any applicant, we extend an invitation for them to come back and talk. So if you can be available for the scoping meeting, I encourage everybody to show up and provide comments. And if you can't be in person, there's an email address and it's on our website as well for the project where you can submit comments through email. And again, they should be focused on the environmental scope right now is what we're looking at initially. And then as the draft EIR comes out, we'll do the same thing for the total environmental based on what they're submitting as part of their application. So are there any questions about that project that I can't probably answer? Okay, and that came out this week. So just like we learned about Costco this week. So we didn't have it listed as an item on the agenda, but we want to make sure we talked about it because we've talked about it a lot before today.
It sounded like in the notice I saw for the scoping meeting that it's sort of one of the open ones. I don't believe there's any formal presentation planned. There may be some maps and there may be some representatives from the county. The developer may not even be there, but if you do, because of the way the process works, your concerns should be raised with the county officials that are there, whether it's DOT or planning.
Yeah.
And then they will get collected and they will be shared with the developer and the community going forward.
Yeah, the way the open format, it's different. We've done a couple of them now. The open format, it's more of a presentation and you can get up and come and talk and make your comments and somebody writes them down. And the old style is that you can walk around and they have a comment card. You can fill out all your comments and you can talk to people, but the comment card, if it's not the open style, is how you get your comments in there or you email them in. So the open style is a weird kind of hybrid show, kind of like we're doing right now. So
Dog and pony show.
woof woof. So there you go. So we want to remind everybody if there's no more questions about that. I need to go back. Costco, we talked about it once before, and since Bob and Dave are here and they're captive, the Costco application is being decided at the Planning Commission. It's not moving past to the Board of Supervisors. Am I correct?
One more time.
You're the final arbiter on Costco, unless it's.
Yeah, I'll go with the final word.
Well, if there's a.
In theory,
Yes. Yeah, so if there's,
regardless, we'll go to the next level.
yeah, so if it's denied at the Planning Commission, it'll get appealed to the Board of Supervisors. If it's approved at the Planning Commission, it'll get appealed to the Board of Supervisors. So, but just keep in mind that, a lot of times people wait to make their comments till it gets to the board. You should probably be ready to make comments before when it's at the Planning Commission. So moving ahead, sorry about that. So if you have public comments and you can't be here, we just ask that you email them in by Monday before our Wednesday meeting so that we can ask any guests that are coming to have their answers ready. That way you have to wait a week for them to come back or we have to share them with you. But those should be related to agenda items and see you in February. Are we adjourned? Anything else?
Yeah.
All right. So, and again, everybody who walks out needs to stop by and talk to Chief Hall and say thank you because he worked for over an hour getting this ready for us when this wasn't working. So, sorry. All right. Thank you.
And I want to thank Chief Hall and I want to thank APAC because if we hadn't had this meeting, we would have had to be scrambling for tomorrow night's fire department meeting, and it would be more screwed up. So better be found out now.
Right.
Happy to help out.